Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Technology seems to be progressing at an all-time high, with each passing day having more changes than the previous seemingly, where physical versions of games like cartridges and discs are being replaced by cards at stores. This may be the future of where video games fall. Well, at least Take-Two's president seems to think so. Let's talk about it. According to an article on GamesIndustry.biz, president of Take-Two Karl Slatoff was quoted as saying, "I think over the long term, it will be 100% digital. I just can't predict whether that's 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. It's probably less than 20, and maybe more than 5, but I think it ultimately gets there." And while I'm typically the first person to refute anything someone says when I don't agree with it, this is coming from Take-Two. And a few years ago, 2012 to be exact, the CEO of Take-Two, Strauss Zelnick, was quoted as saying that THQ was going to go under in 6 months. And he was spot on. And while it may be easy for you to hear that in hindsight and say, well yeah, it's THQ, their games sucked, they had no good quality games, I would have disagreed with you. They had Darksiders franchise, Saints Row franchise, they just signed a deal with South Park to make Stick of Truth. They had a ton of awesome franchises coming out, and they still went out of business. So from way back then, I learned a really tough lesson, and it was a hard pill to swallow. But when Take-Two speaks, I listen. Take-Two's president Karl Slatoff goes on to say, "Why I think it's a little quicker than people imagined is honestly, Sony and Microsoft have done a really nice job with their services. You've got more people on Xbox Live, more people on PSN, and it helps. The friction is going away at a quicker rate because these platforms have been really well developed, and the consumers love it." Notice how he says the word friction. These guys in upper management at these game companies understand that the consumers don't want physical versions of games to go away. But the game companies want them to go away as fast as possible because they're going to make a much higher bottom line if they don't have to produce physical versions of games. If they just sell them on digital distribution sites like Xbox Live and PSN and the eShop, they have no reason to waste money on a physical version of the game in the future. And if you want to go to the store to buy a physical version of the game, you can't. Well, you'll be able to, but it will just be a download code. They might even make boxes still. But games are going the way of the dodo. And while I don't like the direction that this is heading, it's happening, and there's no avoiding it. You might say, well, there'll still be some companies out there that will make physical versions of games because they know people will want them, and I agree with that to a certain extent. The problem comes in with the actual consoles, and if consoles keep being created down the road, eventually they're going to make a console that removes the disc drive and cartridge slots 100%. That way you can't hack it and you have no control over anything with the system, which is what these companies want. They know if you can't hack it, if you can't buy used games, they can make way more money off of the profit of selling new games to every single person and control the entire market. And if you think of it, this is the future of gaming. It's where it's headed, it's unavoidable, and there's nothing anyone's going to be able to do about it. These companies are so far advanced, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, they know that they have the market cornered. There's going to be very little room for anyone new coming into the market to create a system with a disc drive or a cartridge slot that's going to be able to compete with these high-level players. And if you think about it, if a new player comes into the market, why would they bother making a cartridge slot or a disc drive? Just add cost to the system, make them lose profit at the point of sale for the actual console, and at the end of the day, the work to going digital has already been done by the major players, and it's easy just to say, hey, we'll make a console that's 100% digital, and everyone's going to be making digital content. There's no reason for stores to be selling physical versions of games anymore. They're still going to sell games because the average consumer still buys stuff at stores, but like what happened with DuckTales and Cuphead and a few other games already, testing the market to see if people would buy these games with codes instead of discs inside of them, they've already found out they're able to do it, so they can move in this direction a lot faster than previously thought. The truth is, physical retail is still the majority of our business, and very important partners of ours, he said. And we want to do everything we can to support that environment. And we do. They're very strong marketing and distribution partners for us. But again, it's out of our control. Whether we want it or not, it looks like it's going to happen eventually. I can't disagree with Slatoff on this. It's gonna be happening eventually. Remember when you used to go to Toys R Us back in the day and pick up the card of a game and bring it to the front and they get the game for you and sell it to you, well, they'll still just have the cards there, but they won't have a game to sell to you. They'll just sell you the card, activate it at the register, go home, type in the code, and you got your game. It'll give people a way to give games as gifts still, but it will save these video game companies a crap ton of money in the long run. They don't even have to make physical versions of games anymore. They'll save money up front on that, sell you a digital code, make sure you aren't able to resell it because it's a digital code, and they'll control everything about it. Just like what's happening on the Switch right now with LA Noire coming on a cartridge and NBA 2K18 coming on a cartridge, and you need to download like 50 or 60% of the game onto your SD card to even play through the entire game, which is completely insane to me. What's the point of even having a physical cartridge at that point? This is exactly what these big corporations want. They want to screw the little guy, make as much money as possible for their investors. Every year they have to increase that profit, and they cry all the way to the bank. It doesn't cost nearly as much money to make these games as they complain about making, and all the DLC that they add to them, and now they're trying to remove physical versions of the games to maximize profits even more. It's a terrible direction that the industry's going. There's nothing any of us can do to stop it, and at the end of the day, they just sound like a bunch of used car salesmen. Usually it's The Simpsons that predict things, but in this case it was Family Guy.
Peter, this car has dents in it. And look, there's no engine. It just has a drawing of an engine.
Okay, not really, but you know what I mean. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments section what you think about the future of digital distribution. Do you feel like physical versions of games are going away in the next 20 years? Or do you think this guy's just wagging the dog trying to get his way by saying it's gonna happen as an eventuality? Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.